earlier when I made a live stream for today. Same topic, but as a college professor and educator, I'm used to repeating myself. All right. Our topic is related to scientific explorations and folklore about Cern's Large Hadron Collider as Encanto portal. By the way, I'm Jason, your host. I am an entrepreneur, college instructor. I'm also a rock guitarist, martial arts enthusiast, blade builder, outdoors enthusiast. I'm also into prepping and survivalism as a useful hobby. I call it a hobby when people ask me about it, uh, but in reality, it's an obsession. It's a passion. Um, there, whether or not CERN's Large Hadron Collider can become an Encanto portal. Just a mind blow topic for this episode. Uh, just stretching our minds a bit, opening our minds to possibilities, and exercising our so called open rationality. So, but first, what does CERN stand for? Actually, CERN or CERN is an acronym for uh, a research institute. It's a French term. So the English term for it may not, exactly match the acronym because the English version of the term or of the name of the facility is called is actually European Council for Nuclear Research. So ECNR. It's not a CERN. It's European Council for European Research. And what is the purpose? What is the mission, vision of CERN? According to them, according to their website, their mission is actually to uncover what the universe is made of and how it works. So that's the mission of CERN. And talking about the LHD or the Large Hadron Collider, what is it? It's actually a machine. So it's a machine located uh, in between France and Switzerland at a 20-kilometer ring, land space at a 20-kilometer ring. And it actually functions to accelerate and collide particles at 99%, 99.9, 99.9% speed of light. So almost at the speed of light. It can actually produce energy to create another particle. But the energy is so minute and so minute and small that they had to invent, they had to invent a term, a unit of measurement for it. They call it tetra electron volt. So 14 tetra electron volts can actually produce a new particle, so another particle. And if you add nine zeros to 14, then they can produce a small black hole. But this black hole is actually very, very small. It's 14 times smaller than the bacteria we call as E. coli. So it's 14 times smaller than E. coli bacteria. And it produces miniature gravity and doesn't really attract much, you know, uh, material objects that it can actually dissipate on its own via a phenomena we call Hawking radiation. And pretty much according to experts and physicists, there's really nothing to worry about. But it didn't stop people from speculating, and especially some preppers. And actually, one of my prepper friends by the name of Jose Rizal Adventure, my tokayo, actually made a really nice video on this topic, relating it to doomsday scenario, and somehow that CERN is actually, toying with something, to the effect that CERN is toying with something very, very dangerous. Based on some of our experiences in watching Hollywood movies like Doctor Strange and other movies. There. So, uh, incidentally, CERN, during the run of its project, discovered new particles, namely a pentaquark and a pair of tetraquarks. So they found a new kind of pentaquark and the first ever pair of tetraquarks. And what are quarks? What are quarks? Quarks are elementary particles that come in six flavors: up, down, charm, strange, top, and bottom. So that's how they are called. And they usually combine together in groups of twos and threes to form hadrons such as protons and neutrons that make up atomic nuclei. Um, it was in 2011 or 12 when I heard about a discovery that there's a particle that moves or travels faster than the speed of light, and it's actually a particle that is also rotating or orbiting the atom. So I thought to myself at the time that perhaps we humans actually travel at the speed of light or higher than the speed of light in that regard, because we are also made up of atoms, and if there are objects or particles that move faster than light, then there's something we can actually think about and try to discover more about ourselves. So there, that's a recent discovery of CERN. But how about Encantos? What is an Encanto? Well, according to Philippine folklore, Encantos are elementals that are invisible, unseen, and Encantos are actually uh, uh, somewhat believed to be like royalties. They are being led by a monarch, and they live in another dimension other than ours, based on stories. We'll talk about that later. And actually, the word encanto is from the word encantar, Spanish word encantar, which means to charm or to attract. So apparently, when you say you are an encantado or you are an encantada, you are charmed. So you are a person with charm or an entity with charm. And here in Bicol, Southern Luzon, we have in Bicol folklore the thing we call as taong lipod, or entities that are same with Encantos, and apparently they are also Encantos. Uh, Same with Encantos, they cannot be seen. They are considered as invisible beings or elementals or unseen entities. And according to one blogger that I actually came across, um, 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 Taulipods or Encantados are actually biblical in nature, in the sense that they are actually mentioned also in the Bible being creatures of God, because according to the Bible, God created the world, everything here, including the visible things, the invisible things, even the spirits and the souls. So apparently, the Encantos are considered as spirits and souls. But then again, how about the stories of people, testimonies of people who have been to the so-called Encanto lands, and they are saying that right there is a physical world as well, and based on their experience, there is something we call as uh, space-time aberration, or there is a relativity of time. Uh, eh, so much that perhaps you have heard about the people who testified about waywarding or straying towards this dimension, that they were offered black rice, and that in case they ate the black rice, go back they could never go back to our ordinary dimension, our world. So therefore, there is physicality, and that uh, according to them, they stayed in that particular world for say 3 days. But according to the people that he came back to his relatives, to his wife, to his friends, he actually disappeared for 3 months or say a year. It depends. So therefore, there is uh, some sort of relativity of time. Relativity of time. So much that we can consider that perhaps these encantos are also dimensional beings. So they just reside or they just exist in another dimension, but they are also in this world, but in another dimension, in another frequency. Uh, yeah, in another frequency. Um, it's not that they are here; they are also here, but in another space-time, so to speak. So maybe quantum physics can now explain the presence of these encantos, more so that um, according to testimonies, well, during our research, I'm an educator and a writer and a cultural researcher. During our research with indigenous peoples, some Agtas at Iriga City, Camarines Sur, they would talk about spiritual beings because these people, they are very near nature and they are attuned to their spirituality because of their so-called traditional and native lifestyle and native methodologies and indigenous knowledge. So much that they are so much attuned with nature and their inner self and their spirituality. And because of that, we can often hear them telling us about them conversing or even dealing or even bargaining with these entities, especially when there's actually conflict between humans and these entities. They intercede, they try to do healing, or sometimes you're also victims of pranks by encantos or elementals, or even the so-called aswang. So in their realm, in their psyche, it's actually very real, and uh, it could be it could be very real as well, and can be explained by quantum physics already, being that according to quantum physics, the past, the present, and the future can exist or can coexist in the now, in the now. So in our realm as humans, past, our future, our present can exist in the now or in the same space. In that sense, time travel can also be explained. And if we can produce actually a machine that has enough power or energy to affect, uh, you know, these things, creating a portal and all that, I think it's theoretically possible to actually time travel uh, as humans. But then again, basing on stories about Encantos. For example, in our farm, there's one story about our waterfalls over there that actually, according to a person with third eye, that waterfall is actually a highway. So it's a incredible story. The waterfall with stream, virgin area that not being visited often by people, that area is actually a highway and it's actually being frequented by people on horseback wearing red and with swords. People on horseback wearing red and with swords. So think about that. So it's another dimension, it's a different world. Can only be seen by this person with the third eye. And perhaps the third eye is somehow can also be explained by quantum physics. Maybe that person has enough brain energy to actually the shatter the walls of reality, the walls of time space, and you can actually see through it, see through time and space, and see through dimensions. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a matter of meditation, a matter of being attuned with oneself, or a matter of hallucination. Who knows? Um, there. Thinking about the quantum physics and the past, present, and future being relative and being coexistent in the now, or coexisting in the now, we talk now of theory of relativity. So as we said earlier, uh, energy equals mass C Emac, right? Uh, E equals to mc squared, right? That's Einstein's uh, what we call as formula. There's this experiment by Einstein, the clock experiment, wherein he said, if we have two people looking at the same clock, say A is looking at the clock right now, it's actually 12 noon, and B is looking at the clock right now, it's actually 12 noon as well. But if A is looking at the clock while traveling, for example, at the speed of light, while B is traveling at ordinary speed, say 60 kilometers per hour, using a motor vehicle, while A is using a particular machine that can travel at speed of light, then A would look at the clock and would see 12 noon even if he travels until the edge of the solar system. But if it's B, it won't be 12 noon anymore. It would be, say, 1 o'clock if he traveled from, say, uh, Pili Camarines Sur to Naga City, Camarines Sur, here in southern Luzon, the Philippines. So it's a relative, it's the relativity of time, being that if you look at uh, time itself, it would depend upon your vantage point, relativity. So there, which also reminds us of this particular machine supposedly invented by Nikola Tesla, and this machine is actually a radio machine of sorts, and it can access the various dimensions and the various frequencies or other dimensions present in a particular space. Same with ordinary radios. Ordinary radios, you access it and you turn it on and you turn the dial and try to access other frequencies. And even if the radio actually stays in one place, it can absorb. It can capture um, different radio stations. So if past, present, future, and different dimensions can coexist in the now in the same space, then if we have a device that can actually, you know, use great energy and can actually create a crack in the fragment of reality, so to speak, then time travel and interdimensional travel is also possible, isn't it? So it's a mind blow thing, something we can think of, something that we can consider to stimulate our brains. We just have to have some open rationality. So we are academics and we are scientists, scientific, and also we are spiritual beings and rational beings. Just having a little bit of an open rationality, then we can discuss a lot of things, really. Um, Most especially if you consider that some thinkers actually believe that when we think of alien life and alien technology, we can uh, uh, actually qualify them according to level of civilization, which in turn is according to their ability to harness energy from their surroundings. For instance, if a particular civilization can only harness energy from fossil fuel, then that civilization is somehow primitive. And if they can harness energy from the sun with great effect, then they're somehow a little bit more advanced. And if they can harness energy from uh, other solar systems within the same galaxy, then they are advanced. And if they can harness energy from uh, various solar systems from different galaxies, they're very, very much advanced. And this energy can actually propel their spacecraft, or they can actually produce, or they can actually effect something we call as interdimensional travel or time travel or time space warp because of the energy that their machine can actually generate. And as we said, it really depends upon the energy. So the LHD, or the so-called Large Hadron Collider or Hadron Collider, can actually produce energy to create another particle, but this particle is, or this particle or black hole is of minute energy as well, 14 tetra electron volt to produce a new particle, and a little bit stronger than that to produce a small black hole. So that's the talk of the town right now. Um, that's it. Mind blow stuff, stimulates our brain. Can CERN's Large Hadron Collider become an Encanto portal of sorts if Encantos are real, or if Encantos are actually interdimensional beings? Theoretically, yes. That is my answer to that. I don't know about you. Please comment down below if you have any ideas as well. But definitely, it can possibly create uh, a black hole. Only that the black hole is quite small and it can actually dissipate on itself. And it won't cause much problem, really. There's nothing to worry about according to the experts. But then, some preppers, some thinkers are actually worried. You start with something small, it gets bigger. Everything starts with something small, they say. So, all right, Jason here for the Hagbayon channel. This is a rerun of this episode. I already made an LS of this earlier, but there was audio problem, so maybe this particular mic did not work so well. This will be uploaded, and thanks for watching. If ever you will watch this as recorded, join me next time, and remember, the pen is mightier with a sword. Thanks.